Hey everyone, welcome back to Animal Notebook. Today, we're exploring an animal that essentially plays the game of life on the absolute highest difficulty setting, the legendary honey badger. Honestly, if the animal kingdom had top-tier video game characters, this would be the one with maxed-out defense, relentless attack stats, and a completely fearless playstyle. So, let's dive right into this. Now, you might look at this face and think, oh, what a cute, fluffy little guy, right? On the outside, they kind of just look like oversized skunks. And look, we all know the famous internet meme, honey badger don't care. But in today's explainer, we're going to step way past those viral jokes and uncover the hardcore scientific reality behind that legend. Because, trust me, the truth is actually far more fascinating than the memes. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll meet the hardcore hunter, see how they're built for battle, explore their lives as fearless carnivores, uncover the brains behind the brawn, and wrap up with your top 4 honey badger FAQs. All right, section 1, meet the hardcore hunter. Let's look at their baseline biology. So the first thing you absolutely need to know is their scientific name, Mellivora capensis. Literally translated from Latin, it means honey devourer. And man, is that fitting, as you'll see in just a bit. But here's the real kicker. Despite their common name, they aren't actually true badgers. They belong to the Mustelidae family. That makes them the only living species in their genus, and means they're actually way more closely related to fierce predators like weasels and wolverines. As for their size, adult honey badgers are remarkably compact, but they are built like little tanks. We're talking roughly 55 to 77 centimeters long, plus a 12 to 30 centimeter tail, and they weigh in at up to 16 kilograms. And notice that highly distinctive coloring. They have this thick gray-white mantle running straight from the top of the head down to the tail, which sharply contrasts with that jet black fur underneath. But hey, looking tough is only half the story. Let's move to section 2. Built for battle. We're going to see how this animal survives in some of the most punishing environments across Africa, the Middle East, and India. This animal is packed with just a ridiculous amount of physical adaptations. As you can see mapped out here, from venom immunity to a literally bone-crushing bite, the honey badger is biologically engineered to be nearly indestructible. Let's break down exactly what makes this natural armor so incredibly effective. The absolute game changer here is their skin. It is exceptionally thick. We're talking about 6 millimeters thick just over the neck alone. And more importantly, it's incredibly loose. This is a brilliant evolutionary defense mechanism. Think about it. If a predator grabs a honey badger from behind, that loose skin allows the badger to twist a full 180 degrees inside its own skin and viciously bite its attacker back. Add in these powerful claws that can dig out a whole burrow in minutes and strong-smelling scent glands to ward off threats, and you literally have a living, breathing tank. All right, section 3, a fearless carnivore. Let's see how that living armor translates into their everyday hunting tactics. This is amazing. Incredibly, honey badgers literally engage in a real-life co-op mode. In certain parts of the world, they actually form this foraging partnership with a bird called the greater honey guide. It works perfectly. The bird can easily spot the hidden beehives from above but can't crack them open, while the badger has the brute strength but needs directions. So they just team up, the bird leads the way, the badger tears the hive wide open, and they both get to feast on the spoils. Of course, getting to that honey is no walk in the park. They will relentlessly raid these hives for honeycomb, honey, and those highly nutritious bee larvae. But thanks to that 6 millimeter thick hide we just talked about, they pretty much just shrug off the massive swarm of angry bees. They tolerate an agonizing amount of stings, all just to satisfy that sweet tooth. But honestly, here is their ultimate superpower. When they aren't gorging on honey, they are actively hunting highly venomous snakes. Think cobras, puff adders, the real nasty ones. A bite from these snakes would be rapidly lethal to almost any other mammal on Earth. But the honey badger, it has a natural resistance to snake venom. Sure, the venom might knock them out cold for a couple of hours, but incredibly, they literally just sleep off the neurotoxins, wake right back up, and finish eating the snake. It is truly mind-blowing. So they're tough, sure, but if you think they're just mindless bruisers, think again. Section 4. Brains behind the brawn. Honey badgers are actually astonishingly smart. Like, in captivity, they are notorious escape artists. They'll figure out complex locks and break out of enclosures all the time. Out in the wild, they've been observed using tools. They'll roll logs, stack rocks, or even use mud to reach food or escape a tricky situation. They're also super strategic. They can actually seal themselves inside their burrows using soil to block predators from getting in. Plus, mother honey badgers are incredibly dedicated. Cubs are born entirely blind and helpless, and they spend over a whole year with their mothers just learning these super complex, specialized hunting and survival skills. Let's bring it all together. Section 5, Honey Badger FAQs. We're going to do a rapid-fire sequence of your top 4 questions. Question number 1, and we touched on this briefly, but it absolutely bears repeating because it's so commonly misunderstood. Are honey badgers actually badgers? The short answer, no. Biologically speaking, they're classified under the weasel family, Mustelidae. So if you look at their evolutionary family tree, you'll find they are much closer cousins to animals like otters, weasels, and wolverines than they are to the standard badgers you'd find roaming around Europe or North America. Moving right along to FAQ 2, with such a wild, specialized lifestyle, are honey badgers endangered out in the wild? Well, officially, they're classified as least concern by the IUCN, which means on a global scale, their species is secure. However, it's important to note that local populations are definitely declining in some specific regions. Because they're just so incredibly brazen, they often get into conflicts with humans. They'll raid commercial beehives or poultry farms, and unfortunately, that leads to retaliatory killings by farmers, on top of general habitat loss. Okay, here's a question I get literally all the time. FAQ 3. How exactly do they survive those highly venomous snake bites? Is it just that super thick skin doing all the work? Actually, no, it's not just the skin. Sure, the thick hide helps stop fangs from sinking in too deep, but when they do get a full injection of venom, their survival comes down to a crazy evolutionary adaptation. They have these specialized cellular receptors that essentially block the snake's neurotoxins from binding effectively. This means their respiratory system doesn't just shut down, allowing them to fully recover from a dose of venom that would easily drop a much, much larger animal. And that brings us to our final question, FAQ 4. Why are they universally considered so fearless? What's the real root of this legendary reputation? Well, for starters, they literally hold the Guinness World Record for the most fearless animal. No joke. But practically speaking, this reputation comes from their actual documented behavior. I mean, a 16-kilogram honey badger will actively stand its ground, hiss, and fiercely defend itself against massive apex predators like lions, leopards, or even whole packs of hyenas. Their sheer relentless persistence, combined with that loose armor-like skin and a vicious bite, usually convinces those bigger predators that the honey badger simply is not worth the trouble. So I want to leave you with this provocative question to think about. When you combine that unparalleled 6mm armor, a literal natural immunity to lethal venom, those crazy alliances with birds, and the sheer intellect to use tools and solve complex problems, is the honey badger the ultimate survival machine in the entire animal kingdom? I highly encourage you to ponder that one. And hey, if you want to keep exploring the incredible stats and lives of wild creatures, make sure to stick around for our next explainer right here on Animal Notebook. Thanks so much for learning with me today.